If you're seeing this part, I am still live, obviously. You can see a little red dot in the corner. So give me just a second and let me find my stuff on Facebook. That way I can see all of your comments. Sometimes my iPad doesn't show them all. So, and my volume, of course. I always do that, sorry. Alright, so today we are going to be doing a tie-dye tumbler. Kind of like this one right here. I just like to have a picture to kind of look at it when I do it. So these are, I like to do mine with alcohol inks. Some people do them with acrylics and stuff like that. I haven't tried it with the acrylics. I know when I paint with them, it's hard to get good coverage, so you have to go over them a couple times. I found this is a really awesome way to do it where you don't have to go over it multiple times. Once you get your painting down, you seal it. I like to use this right here. It's Khmer varnish. Or you can use, I have another acrylic sealer, but it's in my basement, that I like to use for alcohol inks. You can also seal it with plain Mod Podge, but just be careful because sometimes the inks may smear a little bit, like the more saturated ones like that. So for this, you don't need this many paintbrushes. I have this many. Sometimes I'll use just the ones I need, but I like to have extras just in case I need them. So for these ones, you definitely want ones with smaller tips. Like this one, I'm most likely not going to use it just because it's too wide for what I want to do. How's everybody doing today? And then so for the colors, I'm going to be using cadmium yellow. This is orange. And these inks I got at Michael's. They're just two different brands, that's all. This is the Brewery's Magenta. And then this is the Ranger Botanical. And then I have, and I got alcohol ink on this color, and then I could never see what color it was again. So I'm sorry. Oh, I think it's Pool. It's called Pool. It's in the corner. It's in a weird spot. I thought I covered it with gunk. And then for the last color, I'm going to use Ultramarine. So I like to have my cup already kind of on the turner, just so I can kind of get my stuff all ready, and on my noodle. That way I don't have to keep touching it, and sometimes I get worried with the more delicate ones like this that you're going to damage them when you try to possibly put the noodle and stuff inside of there. So I took my rings off too. I can't take these off, so they'll stay on. Just so that way you don't scratch the paint after you put all that work into it. This is just regular freezer paper. I'm going to be putting my ink on here. I prefer parchment paper, but I don't have any. So regular freezer paper works just as well. Hey Cynthia. So this live is going to be about an hour long, just to let y'all know, because I did a live in adult crafting a few months ago, and that's about how long it takes to paint one of these, for me anyways. Might be quicker for some of you guys. So the inside of my cup and stuff, I'm not going to worry about that right now either. Hey Rachel. Hey Jennifer. So I start with my lightest color. So like in this picture, I'm going to start with the yellow, and I start with the lightest color because if you start with the darkest, inks are a lot like watercolors, so when you use them, if you overlap it with a different color, it could drag the color and it mixes together, and it could cause a color effect that you really don't want on your tumbler. So I'm going to start with the yellow, and I'm going to pick out, I have, most of my brushes are tiny that I have for this, and then for these, when you're done with them, you can just wash them with alcohol. I just put them in a plastic cup and put them face down in the alcohol, and then I go like this and I rinse them with some Dawn, and after they're rinsed really good, I'll probably do it one more time with the alcohol, and that way you can reuse them over and over again. They're definitely not for anything else, but you can use them for alcohol inks over and over. So I'm going to start with a little tiny one like this. And you just want, this is a matte, I don't remember if this is Rust-Oleum or Carline, but this is a matte finish that I have on here. I haven't tried it with the gloss, but I don't think it would soak in nearly as well to the paint. If you tried it with that, it might leave some streaks. So here we go. Now when I put it on my brush, I'm going to use pretty much nothing. I just want it to barely touch it. This is enough ink for quite a bit. So I'm going to have it so it's like barely anything on there. Because if you put a lot on there, there's a good chance that it kind of like spiders when you do it. So I'm going to start right about here. I haven't done it on a curved one before. I was kind of excited to do it on this one when they said they wanted it, because I think it'll look really pretty on a curved one. So here we go. So I'm going to start off really small. I don't like to draw on them because I get worried that you're going to see the lines on it. So I don't draw on them. You definitely probably could. So I'm just going to start by doing little tiny brush strokes. See how it just stays really nice on there. And then this is where I'm going to form, this yellow is going to kind of form the base for the whole spiral of the tie-dye. And you can go over it again too, if you find that your lines are maybe a little bit too small, or whatever the case you might be. So it's definitely not the end. When I get a little bit farther, I'll show you too, because you can do some different things with it as well, as far as touching up and stuff a little bit. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. Obviously I'm doing this, but I'm gonna try to keep an eye at that too, so I can peek at it. So I went over this one, and if you want to make it a little bit darker, you can just kind of go over it again. It'll just give it a little bit more of a saturated kind of look to it. And the lines, you don't want them to be symmetrical as far as being straight. You want them kind of, it's might be hard to see with the yellow. You kind of want them real irregular on the edges of it. Let me get a little bit more in here. I like the parchment paper better because it doesn't spread nearly as far as this does. The freezer paper, it tends to spread more, but it still does what it needs to do. Oh, you're welcome, Erin. Yeah, water slide works too. I've seen some really, really pretty ones with water slide. These ones are fun to do because there's so many different colors, and I have a couple designs picked out that I want to try to do with these. There's a really pretty one that I saved a picture. It's like a real tie-dye, but I'm going to kind of try to do it so it kind of inspires it. So I'm going to go around a little bit more right here, and then right here I think I might make this a little bit because it's not quite. There we go. But this is another reason why, because it makes it easier to hold it too when you have it on your stick. That way you don't have to hold the cup. Even though the inks dry fast, if you have a part that's wet and you touch it, you could get it on your cup too. And you definitely don't want that to happen. And this one is going to have, they ordered it with sparkle in it too, so I'm going to mix, when I do my first coat of epoxy, I'm going to mix a little bit of this glitter into it, into the epoxy, just to give it, it's called Angel Wings from Heavenly Creations. It makes it like a really nice shimmer in the epoxy if you add just a little bit. Hey Mary. And then I'll show you guys when I get to the back too. The back of the cup is not going to line up. You're not going to have like, it's going to not fit weird. It'll fit perfect because it's a spiral. And it depends kind of where your colors meet. And they're all going to be different. So you just kind of play with it a little bit. And all of the colors are not going to take as long because you have your yellow is going to take obviously, sorry, my Amazon thing just popped up. Your yellow is going to take the longest obviously because it's the full cup, but the more colors you get done, the less you're going to have to actually put on the cup of it. So it doesn't take nearly as long for some of the other colors. So don't get discouraged if you start doing it and it feels like it's taken a while to get one done. And I will save this too. That way if you guys want to watch it at some point, you can definitely watch it whenever you want to catch up on it. So see, it's barely wet, and I'm just kind of dragging it on there. And right here, so right there I had a little bit more ink than I wanted, so I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you guys how I'm just going to touch it up a little bit. It's super easy. It's not the end of the world if it happens. And once you get your first color down, you have your pattern pretty much set, how your whole tie-dye is going to go too. So it'll make it go faster as well, because you're not kind of eyeballing it to see where everything's going to go. And I did a brown one like this. It was like brown and yellows and stuff. And it came out really pretty too. It kind of looked a lot like a mum, a lot of people said. So you could definitely play with the different colors and kind of like the technique and stuff and do some cool things. Laura, you definitely should try it. It's fun. And there's, like I said, there's so many things you could do to it. So to prep this, I did put, I put 2 light coats of the matte because I wanted to make sure there was no spots that were a little bit darker. And I didn't want it to drip. So I just applied a couple of light coats just to make sure I had a good even coverage and I didn't have any drips. Because obviously this is a painted cup, so if you get drips on it, you're going to see it. Yep, I am Kimberly. So this is going to be about an hour from when I started in order to finish it, just so you know. And then the top, I'm going to keep going in the spiral all the way around it. So it's going to go off of the cup. And like I said, if you guys haven't used like the inks and stuff, they really reminds me of watercolors as far as them kind of like mixing and the way they flow and stuff, if that helps at all, as far as like actually painting with them. Yeah, I've seen people, like I said, do it with the acrylic paints and stuff. I haven't tried it with that yet. I know that when I've painted with acrylic, it takes a couple coats to actually get good coverage on it, but with the inks, you only have to do one coat. So you don't have to worry about going over it a few times, which I like a lot. So see, I'm gonna keep going with the spiral and come down here, but see now how I'm getting the first part of the tie-dye done. And then as I go out, it starts small and then the strokes are going to get bigger. So when I come down here, the strokes that come down this part are going to be, they're going to be larger because it's farther out in the pattern. Just eyeballing to see where I want it to come down. So I want this one to come down a little bit further, so I'm just going to take this part and kind of go over it again. And then make it come down where I want. So it's very, you can definitely play with it, and as far as like altering where your lines meet up and stuff, if you do it and then decide that you want it to be a little bit different. Oh, it's just freezer paper. If you have any, I would, I like parchment paper better. Freezer paper works too. It's just a barrier so I can put it on and it doesn't soak through. I keep forgetting to pick up some parchment paper when I go to the store, so I'm stuck using this. But it works. So see how the strokes are really irregular on the edges? And that's what you want. Like I said, you don't need it to be all stopping at the same spot. Hey Julie, hey Amy. How's the weather where everybody is? It's all rainy here. It's been raining for a couple days. But I guess that's what you get living in Connecticut. Okay, so you guys have similar weather that we're getting. Let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to make it so you guys can see. I just realized I'm kind of used to just doing it myself. As far as this one, sometimes it's easier to have it right up to you so you can see what's going on. And then I'll go over again, if some of you are just catching on or whatever, when I'm done with this, I'll definitely go over how to seal them and all that stuff again after. So if you missed it, don't worry. So now that I'm getting towards the bottom of it, I'm going to keep doing what I was doing, and I wrap mine around the bottom too. I'm sure you could tape it off if you want and leave this part stainless or however you want to do it. And then for the little cracks, I just kind of go like this before I go over it with the color. That way you don't have to worry about messing around with the white spot from the crease of the cup. And because you don't really, if you get a lot of it in there too, it can kind of go into the other areas of the cup as well, which isn't the end of the world, but just so you guys know. And then I'm almost done with this part. See if I have enough yellow on my paper. I don't think I do. I don't have any color mixed in. This is just the yellow that I'm putting on here. That's when alcohol inks dry, they get darker. So that stuff around the edges is this, the alcohol evaporated in it. That's why I gotta kind of keep putting it on the paper. So it's all I put on so far is that yellow. So now that I have this part over here, I'm going to take it and these pieces right here, I'm going to just make it so it kind of like visually kind of wraps over the bottom. And the bottom, it's more of like a, they end up being kind of like more like a, I guess like a freeform tie-dye at the bottom. But I like to get it so the design goes on the bottom too. So this part, what I'm going to do is just bring it so it kind of, let's see. This is why I like the parchment better. Seems to evaporate a lot quicker on the other stuff. Alright, so I'm going to just go like that with the yellow. And I'm going to leave my yellow right there, because if I want to add more later, I always can. Okay, so I'll go over the inks again. So let me just stick the cap on this guy real quick. So I have, this is the Brie Reese ones. They sell, both of the ones I have that I'm using, they sell at Michael's. Well, I don't know if they sell the Ranger brand anymore. I'm pretty sure they do, but I think they may have switched over to these. These are the Brie Reese ones. So this is cadmium yellow, and then this is orange, this is magenta, and then these are the Tim Holtz, the Ranger ones. This is botanical, this is pool, it's the same brand, it just looks different for some reason, and then this is ultramarine. So those are the colors I'm going to be using. So I think I'm pretty much done with the yellow. Like I said, I can always add some later if I want to. Let's see. I'm going to go with a brush that has similar kind of colored ink on it already. So I'll probably go with this guy right here. And then I'm going to be doing my orange. Sorry, this stuff is stuck on there. It's crusty. And then, so with the orange, I'm going to do the same thing here. You know what? I'm going to go in with this just a tiny bit more. I think I want to make my spiral go in just a little bit more on this guy. Now I'm going to go in with the orange on the outside of it. So just so you guys can get like a visual, that's what I got going on so far. Now we're ready for the orange. Sorry. Alright, so I'm going to be doing the orange right here. That way when I use my brush, it is going on to the yellow a little bit, but I'm not going to have any weird mixed colors because the color is, it's a similar color. And it's going over it versus if I was dragging the yellow over to the orange. So same thing with this, just very irregular strokes on it. And this one's going to be kind of like this. So the same thing, when you are going out, you don't have to be regular with it, and you just kind of, as you go out, you just make them a little bit bigger. And just make sure your brush is not really wet at all. And you might have to dip them a few times, but it'll save a lot of frustration, I promise. And you could definitely do these with less colors and make the lines bigger, or like I said before, the possibilities you could do with it are really pretty much limitless. So see how much quicker the orange is going versus just the yellow. Once you kind of get the base down. And I'm overlapping these two. I don't know if you guys can tell on the screen or not, but when I'm doing it, I'm actually overlapping them. Maybe I should move the sticker over here. I just put the yellow and the orange. I guess we'll leave that pile alone. Oops. Oh well. And then, like I said right here, that was kind of wet when I just put it on. So I'm going to wait a second, and then I'm going to go back over it. And it'll give you, like those nice brush marks. See? So it's not that big of a deal. Even if you get it a little bit too wet, you can just go back over it. Oh Lord. Sorry, I'm making a hot mess over here. So see how it's coming together now? You definitely should try it, for sure. I love painting with alcohol inks. To me, it's just such a different effect on it, and you get such better coverage than you do with acrylic. Just as long as you don't get your brush wet enough. Too wet. It's to me, it's much easier using these than it is with the acrylics. And I found the little tiny round ones, they work better than the ones that have a little shape to them, like the chisel tips and stuff like that. So if you guys are not sure about what brushes, I would definitely recommend using one that's round like this versus one that has a little flat edge on it. The inks just kind of flow better. And I know this is a longer live. Sometimes I lose people with the longer ones. But people were curious, and this is how I make them. So I'm almost done with the orange, and as you can see, I wasn't lying. It was much faster to do your second color, and as you go on with your other colors, it just gets faster because you're using less area that you gotta kind of cover with it. And then, like I said, so for right here, because it's going to be orange, I'm just going to kind of tuck a little bit of orange in there. That way I don't have to fuss around with it when I'm trying to, after I kind of already got the brush strokes on there, I don't have to go over it again because it missed it. And then the bottom, I'm just going to get that, and then we'll move on to the next color. So same thing as before, I'm just going to kind of drag it over it. Yep, it's alcohol ink. Sorry, I can't do that at the right angle, so I'm going to have to point away from y'all for a second. It just wasn't happening. I just made a little thing down there, no biggie. Alright, so now we have our yellow and our orange done. So now we're going to move on to the next color, which is magenta. Thank you. And the same thing, I'm going to go on the inside right here and do it, and so it's going to overlap the orange, just like I did with the orange. So I got mine on the paper, and then, like I said, I'm just going to pick a nice little round brush. So I'll use a little round one right here, and then just put a teeny tiny bit. When you're in this part right here, it's more important that you get a tiny bit on the brush. Then as you move out farther, you can get away with putting more on it. But these are such tiny strokes right here. I found it the most important to make sure that you get a teeny tiny bit. The bigger bottles are Brie Reese, and the smaller bottles are the Tim Holtz ones. Like I said, I got them both at Michael's. I'm not sure if they totally switched over to the Brie Reese ones, or if they still have the other ones, but pretty sure you can get those on Amazon if they don't. But I did find the Brie Reese ones, they tend to stay, takes a bit longer for them to like dry. So as far as like down here and stuff, they're dry now, but some of the other inks, they dry a lot faster, so you can not really worry about smearing them as bad. I want these to be a little bit. So see, when you overlap them, it kind of makes another layer of color as well. You're welcome. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about as far as that part in a minute, because as I go out a little bit more, it's going to overlap a little bit more as well, so it'll be easier to see what's going on. Too much, I think. So see, that's what I was talking about. How you get kind of like multiple colors now instead of just a single, like magenta and orange. Amy, I think I put everybody to sleep. And then after I get done with the magenta one, it's going to go much faster because some of it doesn't go down as far as the other parts do. So there's certain parts that seem like you're going to wonder what you got yourself into. But I promise, it doesn't all take that long. Thank you. Oh, we got one that's still awake. No, I totally get it. I know it's a longer live, so sometimes people will leave and then come back too. And then this one, to make it, this one is actually, I'm going to have this one is going to swirl down more, so that way it kind of evens out this, so that way the top part is symmetrical. Alright, let me just do a tiny bit more of this one and then we'll move on to our next color. And this one, the next color we're actually going to be doing on the outside of the yellow. Alright, here we go. So now we have our magenta, orange, and yellow all done. And then we're going to move on to the botanical. Let me get a sip of my coffee real quick. I need it bad. Okay, here we go. So this, like I said, this one's not going on the inside. This one's actually going to go on the outside. That way it's not mixing with the magenta. It's next to the yellow. So I'm just going to, like I said, this part in the middle is the most important to make sure that your brush isn't too wet, because you're just making little teeny tiny strokes right here. And I'm going to overlap it a little bit and not worry about it, but I'm not going to go like super far over where the yellow is. But I mean, even if you look at a real tie-dye, the colors, they do mix when they're near each other. So it's not like the end of the world. So I would leave your brushes out if you guys are going to do this, because you'll see when I get to the back part, I may have to go back with a couple of the colors just to kind of tie it together in the back of the cup. And then my blue is going to be this dark blue. It's not going to necessarily, that one always comes out, sometimes it's a little thicker and sometimes the line's a little thinner, because that's the last color that I put on, and that's going to be the color that just kind of fills in the areas of the spiral that may not be filled in from doing the rest of the colors. So sometimes it's thick and sometimes it's thinner, but either way, that's all good. So even right here, I'm not being symmetrical with either side of the line. That way it doesn't look like it necessarily like is next to it, it's kind of with it, if that makes sense. So you'll see too, once I go around this, it's going to be a little bit different. So see how it's kind of getting like a spiral in the back of it? The green is going to be on the outside of both of these now. If you, maybe that helps to kind of visually kind of understand what I was trying to explain. I probably should have said that before. Would have been easier. Sorry, I'm trying to make it so you guys can see what's going on too. No, I did not. I purchased it off Etsy. A few people have asked, and it looked like the place that I got it from, it was this gentleman that made it. It looks like their shop is not open anymore. But I got it, I want to say in like February. And it's, when I first got it, I was a little bit sad because it's more compact. But I love how small it is now. It's fantastic. I can fit everything, and even coffee mugs fit on it because it's up high enough. My inks are drying up over here. I like it when they get thicker around the edges, but for the bigger parts like this, definitely need the thinner stuff because it's not really going to spread anywhere. Oh, thanks, Heather. And see, I just goofed up and did that, but it's not a big deal. So if you guys do that, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And see, it's going to go quicker because now I could skip this whole area that I would have to do. And now this is where the green is going to wrap around. So this part right here, it's not even going to make a big difference that I hit it with the green by accident. Let's see. Sometimes it's funny with the angles of these, trying to figure it out. Trying to get all the brush strokes so they kind of are going the same direction. Yeah, I'm super over the wood grain too. I've been having I had a ton of ombres I had to do, and I was so happy that I had other ones that I could kind of squeeze in here and there. Because I love doing ombres, but I don't want to do any more of them. I'm super over that. piece of paper. The parchment that I have this on, it kind of, I mean, it's kind of pulling around it, so I gotta definitely find I'm using more ink using the freezer paper than the parchment. Sorry, I hope you guys can see. Kind of at a weird spot on the cup. Like I said, I haven't done a curved one before. This is a lot easier to do than the regular 30 ounces that I usually do though, because the curve isn't as giant, the contour. Oh, thanks, Stephanie. That's so nice. I'm glad you enjoy watching. Nope, I did not mix them with anything. They just, all they did was put it on the freezer paper, and my brush just barely has some on it. And I'm just applying it to a matte white spray paint. I don't remember if it's Rust-Oleum or Krylon, but it's just a matte white. I'll go over how I seal them and stuff in a couple minutes, because this really isn't going to take too much longer to do. Because the blue is just literally going to be just a little bit, so we're almost there, I promise. Let me just turn this cup a little bit. And then, so I have the green done on the top, and like I said, now I'll go on the bottom and I'll kind of just make a little, so it curves around and makes a little design on the bottom part. This is where I was saying that you might want more inks too after the rest of your colors are on, just to see if you kind of like the way that all of your stuff kind of formed on the bottom as far as like design wise. I think I'll go up in just a little bit with the green down here. So that is what the bottom looks like. And then that's what we got going on. So I only have 2 more colors, and like I said, as you can see right here and the other spots, it's really not a lot at all. So we're almost there. No problem. I know, like I said, it is a really long life. So a lot of times people will see it after it's kind of already going on for a while, so it's no problem. Alright, so now I'm going to do the pool, and that's going to go on the green as well. I thought that was glitter, but it's not, it's ink. Oops. Alright, let's see what we got. So I think that one's already got ink on it. We'll go with this guy right here. This is such a pretty color. I really like this color. So same thing. I'm going to start just a little bit in more than normal. This is really wet. So I'm just going to let that dry for a second and kind of hang out. And then I'll go back. See? That's what I was saying. It really reminds me of like watercolors, because you can definitely go back and fix it. It's not the end of the world. So we'll just kind of hook him around so it looks like that. So since I'm dragging, if this one's a little bit different, see, it's the same thing as when I went over the green. None of the blue lines are regular. They're all really sporadic and different. And now we're gonna come, and this is where I was explaining where things, this right here, you may want to come back with some of the other colors. But the way this one is coming together, you may not need to. We'll see. And then, so for this part, I'm going to do from both sides, but I'm going to wait on the other side because I like them to kind of overlap, because it kind of just gives it more dimension in the back part of it. So I'll do this side of this little part, and then I'll come back and I'm going to actually overlap the other side when I do it. And you may have little pieces here and there that are white still, just like here and there sporadically. I don't worry about necessarily covering like 100% of it. So I'm just my eyeballs. This is where this one comes actually right back around here. So now I'm just gonna do this part. No worries, Ashley. It's all good. It'll be saved. So you could just type in replay to find it. Or I'll probably use tie-dye too for the hashtag. That way you can find it. So this is the part I was talking about right here. And I'm just going to do like I did with the other side. And just kind of let them overlap if they're gonna. like the way it looks in the middle, but you can always just use smaller strokes if you don't want them to overlap. But see, I like the way it looks with the, I don't know if you guys can see. So I just let the brush strokes kind of go where they're gonna go as far as that part goes. And then closing up right here, that really dark blue, that's where that's gonna go in. And then, like I said, that really dark blue, it doesn't take long to do that one at all. Because if you look, there's really not much left on the cup that's not already a color. So, we're almost there. Green got kind of, let me put a little bit more in this. My green got kind of all mixed up in there. Alright, let's see. So then with this one as well, I'm just going to make this go on the bottom. I'm going to turn it so you guys can see. And there's no spiral on the bottom, I'm just making like a little design. And if you see your brush is kind of mixing with the colors too much, you could just wipe it. That is sometimes why I like to have extras, just so that way if it seems like your colors may be mixing just from going over the same color and them touching, that you can just grab a clean brush. Alright, so there we go. Now I got one more color. I got this guy right here. So for that one, it looks like I used, see, your brushes are going to come clean, but you'll still have a little bit of ink residue that's like permanently in there. It's never going to come out. So I try to look to see like this one, if I used it with a dark color, because I know it's really clean, but I just like to make sure, because sometimes if they're not super clean and you might miss a spot, when you put these on it, it's going to mix and it's going to turn your things a weird color. Alright, now that my paper's splattered with everything. Alright, we'll go right here. And then, so for this one, I'm going to be going inside of this. So it's dragging over the magenta color. Oh, that's spread like everywhere. And then, because there is this little tiny part, I'll probably come in here with these colors and just kind of drag them down a little bit, just to kind of close it up. And then we'll be done. This part will only take a couple minutes. So I'm just kind of, so right now what I'm doing in this area, like I said, is I'm just kind of, I'm going to be, it was at the magenta, but it's kind of starting at the blue now, where the blues meet. So I'm just going to do some irregular kind of strokes, just kind of make them match up. Hey, Nicole. So for this one, it's kind of overlapping both. Because like I said, I'm kind of using this color. It's just tying up the white part. And if you guys haven't used inks before, they do have mixatives too, like silver and gold, and then they have another one too to actually like mix the colors, but I've never used it. I had it for a long time, but I've never needed it. So if you guys see it, it's like a big bottle. I forgot what it's called. I don't know where the heck I stuck it either. But personally, I haven't needed it, so unless you guys know you specifically need it for something, I wouldn't bother buying it. So same thing right here. We have these areas where it's kind of just meeting together. So I'm going to do just like I did with the light blue. And just kind of let them overlap and do their thing. And then let's see. And like I said, the inks do dry really fast, but you just want to be careful with putting your fingers on them and stuff like that, because sometimes they're dry, but if you get the really pigmented ones, they stay a little bit like tacky almost. So you just want to try to touch it as little as possible. That way you don't end up getting like your fingerprints on it and all that stuff. So see how that just fills in the empty area back there? So like I said, you can see the brush strokes, but I like being able to see the different strokes from it all. And then I just have this little spot to finish up on the bottom, and it actually works out perfect because that is where the blue on this part of the cup is. So it should work out perfectly. And then this little tiny spot right here, which should only take a second. Let's see. I don't want all the colors to mix, so I'm just going to drag it up from these, because these colors don't really do crazy things when they mix, the blue and the magentas. should be good to go. So there is the bottom. And then I'm just going to take, let's see, I think I'll take the blue, the pool. I'm going to take that guy. I'm going to bring him down a little bit. And then what will we do? Alright, so for y'all that made it through, here we go. This is a 30-ounce curve tie-dye. So, there's the whole thing. I'm going to put it on my turner, and then I'll kind of just go over real quick, like I said, again, how I seal them. So, freaking glitter. Oh, jeez. Alright, anyways. So, I like to use this. If it's a little bit cooler where you are, this tends to clump up a little bit. You won't see it when you epoxy it, but it is a varnish. This works wonderful for water slides too. You can see the nozzle too. It's like really weird stuff, but it's for like watercolors and acrylics and stuff like that. Thank you. Or you can use Mod Podge to seal it as well, like I had said before, or I like to use a acrylic spray sealer. So if you're going to go with the acrylic spray sealer, like any aerosol, just make sure you hold it far enough away, because it's almost like adding alcohol to here, so you could possibly get a little bit of spots here and there from the chemicals that are inside of the aerosol can. So I'll probably be sealing this one with Mod Podge in a little while. That way I can let it dry and epoxy it. I'll be adding 2 coats of Mod Podge to it. And then I'm going to be putting a little bit of, like I said, the angel wings from Heavenly Creations inside of my epoxy, because they ordered it with a shimmer. And it'll be good to go. So now we will get to the next part. Does anybody have any questions? So I had made a post a couple days ago about doing a giveaway, and so we're gonna do that part right now. So I had put a number next to people's names, and I'm not sure if, or Amy or Sherlyn, are you guys still awake over there? So anyways, these, I'm going to use a random number generator in order to pick the winners for them. And I will tell you the prizes kind of once I do the number. So let me grab a piece of paper super fast. I'll be right back, I promise. Okay, I'm back. So, and so the post I put was about just to put a random act of kindness that you did for somebody, and it was really just awesome to see so many people putting so many positive things on there, and they were really wonderful to see. And it wasn't a contest, it was more of a giveaway. It wasn't to see who had like the bigger things they had done for people, just to show that people were thinking about other people and doing things for other people. Hey Amy. Okay, so I'm about to do the giveaway right now. Yeah, try it, Penny. You won't regret it, I promise. Okay, so the first number that I pick, they're gonna get this guy right here, and this will be from the post. So whatever number I put next to your name, if your name is that number, then you'll get it. So let me write this down. So let's see. So I have just a random number generator. So let's see. So number 8. So whoever is number 8 gets the wine cup, and I'll have to peek at it. And then I have this one right here. I don't know if you guys can see it. So this one right here, this will be the next number that I roll. And then, okay. Sorry, my phone went to sleep. Alright, so number 2. So whoever had number 2, they get the 30 ounce. And then Amy was also wonderful enough. She donated a January box and a $10 Heavenly Creations gift card. So the next 2 numbers, the first one will be for the $10 gift card, and then the next one will be for the January box, and it's awesome what's inside of that. So number 36. So number 36 got the $10 gift card, and number 113 got the January box. So I will post the actual names that correlate with those for another post. That way they know that they won. But thank you guys for sitting through this whole entire thing, and for those of you who are participated and the post about doing kind things for people, thank you so much. It was so nice to read, like I said, all the wonderful things that people do for other people, not just for themselves. So I'll post this after I get it sealed and after I get a coat of epoxy on it so you guys can see how it looks. But I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And congratulations to the winners, and I'll post that in a couple minutes.